Okay, guys, here we are on the very last piece of the digestive system lecture. We're going to talk about a couple more of the accessory organs. We already talked about the salivary glands and the teeth in previous sections. So we're just going to talk about the liver, and we'll talk about the gallbladder sort of in conjunction with that. Then we'll talk about the pancreas after that. So here we have the liver. The liver sits on the right side of the body. The stomach would be on the left side over there, and back over here next to that would be the spleen. So the liver is the largest internal organ there, and you have the liver going right underneath the diaphragm on the right side. The liver does a lot of things for us. It filters the blood, and as it's filtering the blood, it's going to remove it of anything toxic or pathogens or bacteria or drugs. It removes alcohol. That's why you can get cirrhosis of the liver if you drink too much. It also helps to regulate blood glucose levels, because what it does is it filters the blood. It removes all of the extra glucose, which is sugar, all of the extra sugar out of your blood, and it's going to store it for later in the form of glycogen. Okay, and then it secretes bile, and bile is important for digesting fats and oils, which are collectively called lipids. Okay, so really the digestive function of the liver is the production of bile, but remember that it also does sort of intersect with the digestive system, because it takes the nutrients that were just digested from our food and then stores them as glycogen. So let's also talk about the hepatic portal system. This is a structure, a sort of network of blood vessels that take the nutrient-rich blood that is coming off of the intestines and then takes it to the liver, so that the liver can filter that blood and remove the extra nutrients and store them for later in the form of glycogen. Okay, so remember that the function of the small intestine is absorption, and absorption just means taking nutrients out of the intestine and putting them into the blood supply. So if you're looking at this picture down here, here is the small intestine, anchoring the small intestine to the back wall. Remember, that's one of those special membranes you need to know. That's the mesentery. And in one of the blood vessels that's embedded in the mesentery would be the hepatic portal vein. So this yellow blood vessel right here, this is the hepatic portal vein. And those would just be branches of the hepatic portal vein. So all of that nutrient-rich bloods, all of the good glucose and sugars and all that, is going to be transported up towards the liver, which is right here. And then the liver will filter it and store that extra glucose. Now, don't forget that the liver also has its own blood supply that's separate from the hepatic portal system. So it still needs its own oxygen, and so it still has the hepatic artery. So in lab, you'll see that the red one will be the hepatic artery, and it also still needs to drain and go back to the heart. So you also have the hepatic veins. Be careful, both the hepatic portal vein and the hepatic vein on the models in the pictures, those are both going to be blue because they're both deoxygenated blood, but the hepatic portal vein will be sitting nearby the hepatic artery, whereas the hepatic vein will empty into the vena cava, okay, the inferior vena cava. Okay, so if you see two little kind of branches of the inferior vena cava, that's going to be the hepatic vein, not the hepatic portal vein. Okay, the hepatic portal vein will be running alongside the hepatic artery. Okay, let's also talk about those bioflow. So the liver produces bile, and as it's producing bile, all of that bile is going to flow towards the duodenum and be emptied into the duodenum. So you have the right hepatic duct and the left hepatic duct. The right hepatic duct is coming off of the right lobe, and the left hepatic duct is coming off of the left lobe. So there are 4 lobes of the liver. and then they will come together to go into the common bile duct. It's called the common bile duct because it's connected to two different organs. It connects and flows from the liver, but it also flows from the gallbladder. Now let's talk about that gallbladder. The function of the gallbladder is to store extra bile. So if the bile is currently needed, so you do have lipids, fats, and oils that need to be digested in the duodenum, it'll go down into the duodenum directly. If you do not have fats that need to be digested at the moment, you're going to store it in the gallbladder. So it'll just go up through the cystic duct to the gallbladder. So the function of the gallbladder is not to produce bile, that's the liver. It's just to store extra bile until it is needed. Okay, so the duct that connects the gallbladder to the common bile duct would be the cystic duct, which is this one right here, the green one right here. Now, just as a note, bile tubes that carry bile are usually shown as green, and that's because in real life, they really do look green because bile is green. Okay. So the function of that gallbladder is just to store and secrete bile. By the way, the liver does all of the other ones. On to the pancreas. And so if you look at so here's the liver here, nice big giant organ there. Stomach is off to the left. Underneath the stomach, so if you took the stomach and sort of flapped it upwards, underneath, embedded in the mesentery, is the pancreas, and the pancreas is actually L-shaped, which you can't see well in this picture. It goes underneath the pancreas, underneath the stomach, and then continues down along the first part of the duodenum. So it'll go along and then come down and have a little tail over here. So in the pancreas is what we call a mixed gland. And what we mean by that is that it has both an endocrine function and an exocrine function. Endocrine means that it secretes hormones into the bloodstream. So endo means inside. Whereas exocrine means that it has a product that goes into the surface, and that product is called pancreatic juice. And so it's going to create this pancreatic juice and then dump it into the duodenum to finish digesting nutrients so that it can be absorbed. Okay, so if we're looking at the pancreas under the microscope, this is what it looks like. You have two different regions. You have these little islands. That's what I like to call them because they look like them. Little islands that are called the islets or the islets of Langerhans. Okay, islets or islets of Langerhans. And in there you have alpha cells that secrete, this is backwards. I'm sorry, that's a mistake. So you have alpha cells that secrete glucagon and beta cells that secrete insulin. You don't need to know those cell types anyway. So those are hormones. And then you have surrounding the outside here, these are the acinar cells. And the acinar cells are what's going to produce the pancreatic juice. Okay, so here's your acinar cells here. And once they secrete the pancreatic juice, that's going to flow to a tube that runs down the middle of the pancreas. That's called the pancreatic duct. Okay, so here is the pancreatic duct, and that's going to flow towards the duodenum, and that's going to empty into the duodenum in the same place that the common bile duct empties into it. Okay, so cystic duct, gallbladder, right and left hepatic ducts, common bile duct, pancreatic duct right there. Okay, that's the end.